Hello and welcome to Indie Incursion, an indie games podcast, your weekly source for all the indie games news you need to know. This week we're bringing you a Solitary 1 news story. Sadly, there is not a whole lot of news. Last week I was mocking people for saying that they did not have a whole lot of news to talk about this week, so that's why they took days off. Yeah, and then it happened to us. If anything, it's my fault. I feel like this is karma. I'm sorry, indie developers. I've ruined your lives.
You're a monster.
I've heard it multiple times, so this isn't the only time. You guys probably hear that my sickness has progressed since our Indie Game of the Year episode, and this is going to be nice because this is going to be a shorter episode, but, of course, like I just said, we have a supplemental Indie Game of the Year episode that we put up on Wednesday. If this isn't enough for you, hop over there, listen to that one. We go for like an hour, so between the two, it'll basically be our normal runtime. So
yeah, pretty much.
I'm not
it's
too
like
worried
just
about it.
one full episode. That's all good.
Yeah, it'll be totally fine. But before we actually get into any of that news, I'd like to introduce myself, the just terribly ill Vaughn Hyde, and alongside my illustrious co-host, the biggest of average Josh Boys. How you doing today, Big Josh Boy?
Pretty good. Not sick, so I'm doing much better than you.
I was hoping
great.
that I'd get you sick through the internet. That was my hope.
I mean, I did cough once or twice during that Indie Game of the Year episode, but did not last much.
Your real man body is just too powerful for my little bitch sickness.
I know. What are you going to do? Well, some people just can't handle little common colds. Little baby Vaughn over here just coughing up a lung.
So I have to ask you a question about sickness. Okay? And this is a real question, and it's never happened to me before other than this sickness. So I get sick roughly like once a year for the most part.
Right.
And this year I've noticed that I have a problem that I've been coughing so hard that I almost shit my pants.
No. I mean, well, here's the thing, though. As you get older, parts of your body start to get, wear down. And one of the things is, some people say your butthole will stop being as tight. So maybe, you're coughing just the same, but your butthole is getting much looser as you're getting older.
So I need to stop with the butt play. That's what I hear. Okay.
It's true. Or maybe you need to do more so you could, strengthen your butt.
It's like Kegels, but for the butthole.
Yeah, butt goals.
Oh, okay. That's a solid plan. I'll have to stuff one of those eggs up my butt that Gwyneth Paltrow sells that apparently makes you a superhuman.
Yeah. It's probably the best idea we've had on this show.
Yeah, this is real life advice here. Normally we just spat off dumb bullshit, or at least I do, but this is real, guys.
Yeah.
You got to strengthen your buttholes so that you don't accidentally sneeze or cough and you poop yourself.
Yeah. That is an embarrassing family dinner right there. You don't want none of that.
Yeah, okay, so it's like, it was so bad that anytime I even felt a little bit of tummy rumbling, I was like, nah, I gotta go, dude. Because if I don't, I'm gonna shit my pants at work.
Oh, you gotta go sit on the toilet while you take a cough?
Yeah, basically. I just cough and then just bam, done. Don't even have to worry about it. It's like popping a cork.
Nice. Well, nope, never happened to me. I'll keep you posted next time I get sick.
All right, sweet. Now, let's move on to what we're playing. It looks like you're playing Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice. How is it? Do you just love it? Do you love the really in-depth look into psychopathy?
Honestly, when I first started, so Hellblade Senua's Sacrifice by Ninja Theory, it's a much older game, but it was one especially because of the new trailer that came out in, what was it, the Game Awards?
Yeah, it was at the Game
Awards. So at the Game Awards, they came out with, hey, we're going to make basically a second one. And I was super excited because we've talked about this on the podcast before, and I was like, I really enjoy the idea of putting psychosis in a game and the disorders that people would kind of experience and giving that to individuals and trying to let them experience it for people who don't have it. I didn't really know as much about the I think it was Norse mythology that's behind it though. And I thought it was more kind of like real world, but it's very fantasy, obviously, as you get further along into the story, which is fine. I just wasn't really expecting it. But I picked it up because it's one that has always been on my list. It was on Xbox Game Pass for the PC, so I was like, all right, I should really just do this. It's free for me, basically. As much as free is for the $5 monthly. But anyway, so I started it up. It definitely plays like an old game. You can tell it is an older game, but it looks really nice. For a game that was a couple of years, I think it was 2015, 16 for this game, it actually looks very beautiful for a lot of the different areas. Obviously, as you start getting deeper into like hell, it's not as pretty. But the graphics are really nice to it. I enjoyed the story of it for the most part. I really loved the way they did psychological disorders in this, because the constant use of not needing something like with the combat in this game is very similar to something like a Batman Arkham Asylum, where you have the enemies who are attacking you and you only really avoid when you're in combat and they're about to attack. And I really love the fact that there would be enemies behind you or about to attack you, and the only way you would know if you're not staring them in the face is that there would be constant whispers and other voices inside your head, essentially saying like, oh, they're going to hit you from behind, watch out, they're attacking you, things like that. And it was such a different way to play the game without needing a constant like indicator, but also giving you that constant, when you're not out or when you're outside of combat, that constant like not reassuring, but you basically second guess yourself because all these voices are talking to you and telling you different things. There was a portion of the game where you had to light this one kind of altar, and it would essentially light the world on fire where you were, and you would have to run back to an area, and it was kind of like a puzzle, like somewhat activity thing where you would have to get to a certain area before a timer. Otherwise, you would end up coughing from all the smoke of the fire and you would end up dying. And so I knew, because I had just walked from point A to point B, from where the gate was that I needed to go to the actual altar that I lighted. When I lit the altar, I immediately ran towards where I needed to go. And all of a sudden, there's voices inside my head that are screaming at me, oh, she's going the wrong way, she's going the wrong way. And I'm like, maybe I am going the wrong way. So I turned around, went to basically where I was before. It was a dead end, and I was like, I knew it was a dead end. Why did I turn around? And then ended up dying, and I was like, oh, damn it. Which was like very interesting, just because it basically is just human nature of someone tells you something and you like second guessing yourself. So it's that constant unaware of the world around you. It's constantly having these people who are basically putting doubt on you and just kind of riling you up. It's these different illusions as you get further into the game that, some of these parts were actually like really fucking creepy. But I really enjoyed it. I got through the entirety of the game. I, for one, didn't really care as much for the combat of it. It was so-so. But the actual game element and putting that disorder to the game and trying to make you feel like you have this real fear of dying, you have this real fear of, these different illusions or these voices that are coming through to you, was done really well. And I definitely enjoyed that aspect of it. So I'm looking forward to the next piece of this, because I'm hoping that they're going to clean up the combat a little bit and make it, a little bit more snappier, especially now that they're part of the Xbox Game Studios lineup. I'm sure they'll have a lot of resources to put into this, so I'm excited to see what that team produces. And here he goes coughing.
Yeah, I'm just going to die.
You're like dying over there. Yeah. I feel so bad. I'll go quicker on the next one.
You're good. How long did it take you to beat the game?
It took me about 5 to 6 hours, I think.
Oh, that's not long at all. I thought it was like a much longer experience, like 15 or more.
No. So I think if you're really trying to do everything, because there's little hidden faces in the world and hidden not really hidden, but rune stones all over that will give you background story into more of that mythology type setting. You can find those. They're all over the world. You can wait and listen to those. But I just didn't really care as much. I just wanted to kind of rush through the game to go through. And I think if you did all of that, it probably would be like an extra hour or two, maybe. But I still can't see someone, if they're just playing from start to finish and just going through, I can't see it being more than 8 hours.
Would you say that this game, just based on like a story basis, since you weren't a big fan of the combat, would you say that it's worth like actually purchasing it, or is this something that you'd recommend to just like get Xbox Game Pass for?
I think it would still be worth it to get it if you didn't have Xbox Game Pass. I really enjoyed, for one, the psychological disorder aspect of this, of trying to show that different, like a person who is mentally unstable, and give you kind of an insight into their world. I really enjoyed seeing that. I do have a background in psychology, and I've always been interested in this type of, disorder, just field of study. So for me, I'm a little bit biased on that. But I think I had a great time with it. It was a little bit of a slog for some of the combat, because some of them just felt like, okay, this is more of the same. And I really just wanted to get to the story part. But you can also just, I think it was like about the end of the game, some of the last boss or so. Once I got to this giant, like, boar looking thing, I ended up just changing the difficulty to easy, because it wasn't that it was like really challenging, but the game was just taking so long because enemies just had much chunkier health bars. So I just turned it to easy, went through really quick because I just wanted more of the story. But like I said, to kind of not dwell on that, basically I recommend it. I think it's worth the pickup, especially now, because I'm sure you'll find it on sales or discounted because it is a older game. But I enjoyed playing through it.
Yeah, as of recording, I don't know if when we post this, if it's going to be this price, but as of recording, to point out that you're, like, obviously right, it's like $10 on Steam right now.
That'll probably go up, though, because I think today is the last day of the winter. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So the winter sale will end today, so probably it will go back up to full price, but maybe this is one you just keep on your wish list and keep an eye on if it does go on sale again. I think it's worth it regardless, but also Xbox Game Pass, if you have it, it's there.
Awesome. And you're also playing Binding of Isaac Afterbirth Plus.
Yeah. So I've always loved Binding of Isaac, and we've talked about this. I'm a fan of Edmund McMillen and his work.
Dude, I have to say, he's like the cutest boy. He's like, watching Indie Game the movie, he's like so cute in that. And I think Danny O'Dwyer put out a picture of like him like interviewing Edmund McMillen, and he's just such a cute boy. He's just so excited all the time. It's so interesting.
I mean, he seems, at least from what I've seen from Indie Game the movie, he seems like a pretty dope dude. That being said, he has a pretty twisted mind.
Yeah, dude. One of his games, you fight a vagina monster. Actually, no, you could also do that in Binding of Isaac.
Yeah, you do. You fight a lot of weird monsters. There's quite an imagination from this developer. But regardless, I've always been a big fan of Binding of Isaac. I had the initial one, so the first one that came out before they started building out expansions to it, and like the remastered version, which I believe was Rebirth. And then after Rebirth, they had DLC, which was Afterbirth and Afterbirth Plus. So I went on Steam because it's the winter sale, saw that it was $25 to get all of the different Rebirth, Afterbirth DLC, and then ended up just getting it on the Switch because it was $20 for Afterbirth Plus. I don't know why, since usually Switch is a higher price, but regardless, I'm actually really happy I did, because man, that is a great game to have for portability's sake. But regardless, I'm having a ton of fun with it. So when I stopped with Binding of Isaac, the normal version, there was like so much less to do in the game as far as the different relics, the different power-ups, the different enemies, the different bosses. Like, there is so much more that is packed into this game, and I'm having such a fun time going through it and playing it again, because it's got such a great like repetitive loop of going through, and in a lot of cases, me getting my ass handed to me, but then there's a couple of runs where I get really good RNG and really good power-ups, and I feel so powerful, and I'm killing all these enemies, and it's just so satisfying to play this game when you get that good run, that it's worth it to try that. And a lot of it is mostly just memorizing patterns of enemies and getting good, but I'm really rusty, and I wasn't really that great at this game beforehand. But watching, specifically what got me into this is I started watching on Twitch. There's a streamer, I believe is Cobalt Streak or Strike, I can't remember, but he's been doing a no deaths all unlock challenge, and he's like almost done with it. I've been watching him. He's friggin' crazy. I don't know how he like barely will ever get hit by anything, and just knows what he's like a walking encyclopedia with this game. He just knows what every power up is. He knows when to get what and why you should do things in a certain order. He's obviously played this game for a long time, but watching him and just being like, man, I really want to pick this game up. I went through it and I'm having a blast with it. I honestly feel bad because I feel like the next couple of weeks, this is like all I want to play and I don't want to get anything new.
Do you, and I've wondered this for a while, do you know why Tommy didn't work on Binding of Isaac? After they put out Super Meat Boy, which was Edmund and Tommy, he doesn't work on any other games with him, it doesn't seem.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know the background of that. But it's an interesting question. Yeah, for sure.
I've been wondering that for a while. Have you ever actually completed a run in Binding of Isaac?
Yeah.
Fuck, dude. I'm so bad at that game.
But it's hard to say completed because with Binding of Isaac, when you complete it, like you complete it and then it unlocks more for you to do, essentially. So
that's really cool. Do you get to keep all your power-ups and everything?
No.
Oh. So you just restart like the standard roguelike. Sweet.
Yeah, you restart. So like the first one is you end up killing Mom. And then after that, you get 2 new rooms to explore after Mom, which is like you going in a place called the Utero, which is essentially her uterus, which this game is really fucked up. But you go through and you have 2 more rooms, like 2 more levels to go through. And then at the end of that, you fight basically a fetus inside of your mother, which is like you, I guess.
You
like
gotta beat
Isaac.
that fetus, dude.
Yeah, pretty much. And so you're fighting that, which is crazy. And then once you unlock that, then you can go through basically picking whether you want to go deeper into hell or like up into heaven. And then there's different bosses for all of those. And it just keeps going. Like each time you do one of those major boss like completions, it then unlocks it for you so that you can do a longer run, essentially.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I've played a little bit of Binding of Isaac on the Nintendo Switch when it got a physical release, I believe in 2017. But that's pretty much all I've played of it. I've never completed a run or got to the end or anything. I was never part of the Get Good squad.
You should get good. Get good with me. We'll do it together.
For me, what I've been playing is pretty much just... I talked about this a lot during the Indie Game of the Year episode. I've been playing more Minoria, really enjoy it. Hitting up some more bosses. Kind of running into a bunch of different creature designs, which I really enjoy. I played A Short Hike, and I beat it. Really, really like that game. Also, listen to our Indie Game of the Year episode. It might surprise you, I guess. It surprised Josh, so... It might
maybe not as
surprise
much
you.
Now,
yeah,
based on what you just said.
I really, really like it. A Short Hike is a lot of fun, and it's got some really, really cool visuals, especially in the end. Plus, the characters are really interesting, and yeah, I don't want to say too much about it because I've already talked about it so much, and we have that other episode.
Right. Before you do, though, how long did it take you to complete the entire thing?
Like less than 2 hours.
Okay. Wow, that is a short hike.
Yeah, you can...
Actually, I guess that would be a long hike.
Yeah, that's actually a joke. Like, it's called A Short Hike, and initially you're told by your, like, aunt that she's like, yeah, it's just a short hike to the peak. And then once you go back down, you go and talk to your aunt, and you're just like, no, it wasn't.
You bitch.
Yeah, it's really interesting. If you actually want to complete everything, like, you can complete the like parkour challenges and do all of the additional side quests, I imagine will take longer, but it didn't take me more than like 2 hours, maybe 2.5.
Right.
Yeah.
Is it an expensive game? What is it like?
No, it was $5 when I bought it on the winter sale. It's I believe it might be $7.99, $10 normally.
Okay.
So it's
still not
really
bad.
cheap. I'd recommend like it. I don't think it'll be for everybody, but it is an experience that I think like most people will get with. The few people that won't like it will probably be those who like kind of like the first person shooter and like super action heavy games. This one is just super chill. It's just fun. You just run around, you grab feathers, you climb, you talk to characters, you just like fuck around, dig up like treasures and stuff. It's interesting. It's a really mellow game. It's not for those like looking for something to really sink their teeth into. It's just something that you might like play a couple hours of every now and then just because it's interesting. But yeah, you don't.
Weren't you the person who said you didn't want Animal Crossing? Or
No, I'm not
gonna
gonna play fucking Animal Crossing, dude. This shit's
You're
this
literally
fucking
explaining
dumb.
Animal Crossing's whole thing. Like that was exactly you're digging, you're talking to people, you're climbing, you're like that is exactly Animal Crossing.
Yeah, but
Why-
I'm not being fucking gouged by some dick. Actually, you do. You get gouged by a dickhead, but I'm not like fucking paying mortgage on a house that I didn't give a shit about. You know?
Now it's a desert island getaway though.
No, I've never been a fan of the Animal Crossing games. I tried to play it when I was younger on the DS, but I just can't get into it. It's just not interesting enough. And I'm actually trying to get my fiance into video games other than Spyro, and I bought her a.
It's awfully specific.
Yeah, that's all she plays. I bought her a 3DS, and I got her Animal Crossing New Leaf because I thought she'd really enjoy it. And she was like playing a little bit every now and then, but it really started to piss her off that shops, like when she would get to play the game, the shops would all be closed because it was late at night.
Just change the time on the console.
That's what I told her, and she said that's cheating. So,
What? I mean, yeah, but just, you know.
dude, it's
who
just like
cares?
Pokemon. Like, I really wanted to get that fetus Pokemon, but I was not going to change the time. And the weather
I could've just
system was
traded with
fucking
you.
stupid. You're a bitch, dude.
I mean, I could have. I still got him. I got
I
a little
love
fetus
that
boy.
fetus Pokemon. He's so cool. He's definitely my favorite Pokemon.
You're so weird, dude.
He's so interesting looking. The last game that I have been playing is actually The Messenger. Sure, it came out a couple years ago, but actually I think it came out last year, right?
Came out. Well, I think
Maybe
it was
the end
18.
of 2017.
It was no, it was
Oh,
2018.
I'm sorry. I'm saying last year, but I'm meaning 2018 because we're 2 days into 2020.
Yes.
Yeah, I believe it came out in 2018. Super fun. By the way, Minoria is made by Bombservice. A Short Hike is made by Adam Robinson Yu. And The Messenger is made by Sabotage Studios, or just Sabotage. That's all I can find with Sabotage. But
Good.
The Messenger I find actually really fun. I at the risk of spoiling this for people who didn't know, I have yet to get to the point where it actually changes like graphical styles.
Oh man, that's such a big twist and everything. You got to get there.
I know, it's really interesting, and I like the character design of your like second form so much more because he has that awesome straw hat on. But yeah, I haven't gotten too far into it. It's fun, and I like how quirky a lot of the characters are. Like the necromancer who's talking to his staff, and his staff's like,
Yeah.
"I want to be evil," and he's like, "I don't want to be," and he's like, "Fine, I'll leave you," and he's like, "How are you gonna be evil if you're not in my hand? Like I have to use you," and he's like, "You got me there. That's a good point."
Yeah, the actual dialogue in this game is so good. I love it. So do you know the like what happens when that transition happens though, right?
Not really. No.
Okay.
I
Good.
know
Yeah.
some
We'll
of
keep
the
it that
stuff, but I don't know a whole lot about it. Like I know who I'm not gonna say anything because I don't want to ruin anything for everybody.
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. I wanted to see where you at.
Yeah,
where you're at.
I've seen a little bit of it in like random list videos and stuff like that, but
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm excited to see your opinion when you get like more into the game.
Yeah, I want to play more. It's really fun. There's nothing really holding me back from it other than, playing Minoria. I'm also playing Momodora Reverie Under the Moonlight. I fought that big titty boss.
Oh yeah?
Yeah, where
How
you
was
just
it?
beat the shit out of her
Were
boobs.
you so distracted? You just couldn't pay attention, kept getting hit?
Them big anime titties, dude. They just got me.
I know.
No, it's actually a super easy boss fight.
Oh. Well, they probably wanted it to be easy so you could just look at the boobs.
Yeah, you just slap her titties around. She tries to hit you with like these balls of magic. You move, and then you just slap her titties some more.
Sounds like my Saturday night.
Yeah, I really back to the messenger. I really enjoy it. The movement is kind of interesting. So I like the whole like. I want to say it's a wave dash. What is it? No, that's not what it's called. What is it called when you like strike and then you jump again?
I don't remember the actual. Yeah, I don't remember the actual name, but it's basically just constantly keeping yourself afloat because you get an extra jump every time you hit something.
Yeah, and I unlocked the ability to like do the same with projectiles, which was really nice.
Yeah,
but I don't know. It's like for having that in it, it's oddly your character is oddly slow. Which sounds weird. Like I anticipated it to be much like him to be much faster of a character, especially because of that. But instead, it's just like your typical kind of platformer. They don't move across a screen too quickly. I'm expecting it to be like fucking Spectre of Torment, and instead it's just like Shovel Knight.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying for that. It can be a bit clunky at times. I think it also takes a while for... Have you gotten the grappling hook yet?
No,
Okay, so that'll help
I just beat
lot.
the Necromancer, I think. So I'm only like 2 bosses in.
Okay. Yeah. So there's a couple of things that you'll get in addition to your normal kit that will help speed that up a lot. So if you watch speedrunners, once you get good at that, basically like the jumping effect, using the grapple hook and that double jump will basically make you fly across the screen. So it just takes some time, but otherwise at the start it can be a little clunky.
I'm going to be honest though, that jump is like a pain in the dick. It's like,
I know.
it's hard to get used to.
You'll get used to it. It took me a while as well.
Yeah, I'm excited to play more. I also, and I'm not going to talk really at all about this, but I have become a real gamer boy, and I'm currently starting my perpetual journey into Bloodborne. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I decided to play some Bloodborne. Yeah, just because I wanted to read the comics, so I was like, hey, I got to play the game.
Damn.
That's my entire thought process.
I can't wait to hear how pissed off you get.
I mean, I killed the cleric beast. Not too bad. Summoned like Father Gascon to help me do that one, and then you have to fight him, and dude's a cuck. Not a fan. He's a big butthole. He's like, hey, I've got 3 different stages, and I'm like, hey, why don't you just go fuck yourself? Like, that's just annoying as shit. But I realized today that I was not performing the visceral attacks correctly when my friend brought it up to me. So, yeah. Hopefully I figure it out now.
Yeah. I don't know nothing about Bloodborne or the Souls games.
Dude, that shit's fun. I'm going to be honest, it's a huge pain, but I do actually enjoy them. And because of like Minoria and Momodora, it's making me want to go back and actually play a lot of the like Demon Souls and Dark Souls and Bloodborne.
Yeah, every so often I get like an urge to pick them up and actually try them, but I just don't want to rage. And I know I'm going to rage.
Dude, I give myself bruises because I punch myself in the leg.
Oh my God, no.
But I have yet to get actually annoyed. Like, Bloodborne is kind of nice because, and I'm sorry, I know I said we weren't going to talk about this much, but trust me, this isn't that much. Bloodborne is kind of different. So in like Dark Souls, you have like, I think 3 Estus flasks to begin with, which is basically just heals you. In Bloodborne, and you can increase that with like Estus shards, which you can then forge into Estus flasks, I believe. I can't 100% remember. It's been a while since I played Dark Souls, but in Bloodborne, you actually just get like kind of, I forget what they're called. They're basically like healing syringes that you stab into your leg. You get 20 of them, so you have quite a bit to actually like heal you. Plus, it's much more fast paced than Dark Souls. So I actually think it is one of the most accessible of the games.
Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I've heard as well, and that's why I probably would only consider doing Bloodborne as opposed to the like original Dark Souls. But I don't know. I still probably won't ever do it.
Dude, you're in the Get Good squad. You gotta.
I know I am, but I don't know. I like Get Good for like platformers and things like that, not for like the fighting. I don't know. It's the same thing that was kind of with like Hellblade. It was kind of slow paced of combat and just dodge, attack, dodge, attack, dodge, and just constantly doing that. And I was like, this is great, but nah, that's okay.
All right. So let's hop in to our meat and potatoes. Not really of this episode.
It's mostly just one potato.
Yeah, just the single piece. This is our one news story for today. It's over on GameSpot. It's written by Steve Watts, and it is Untitled Goose Game honks its way to a huge milestone. It's actually just 2 huge milestones. Thanks for honking, by the way. That's nice.
Thanks. Yeah, I was, had to get it out. I hear the word honk, and it just something takes over.
You're like, you've got like the goose poltergeist. You're now like, what is it? What is it called when demons invade your body?
How
is this totally like blanking on this? Possessed. You're possessed by the goose.
That's the word.
Yeah.
So proud of you.
The indie hit Untitled Goose Game has crossed 1 million copies sold, according to Panic. The milestone came just a couple weeks after the game hit PS4 and Xbox One, having originally debuted on PC via the Epic Game Store and Nintendo Switch. The publisher marked the announcement with a heartfelt thanks to fans. And this is a quote. "It seems impossible, but last week, 3 months after launch, Untitled Goose Game passed 1 million copies sold," said Cabell Saucer, maybe? Not 100%. On Twitter. From the bottom
Good enough for me.
From the bottom of our hearts, thank you for playing our video game. The reaction was beyond anything we could have imagined. The fan art, the writing, yes, the memes, protest signs. Oh yeah, shit. There are people with protest signs. I forgot about that. Chrissy Teigen Muppets. It feels like it feels once in a lifetime. Okay, that's what I thought I said. We hope we brought some joy into your life because you brought so much into ours. That's where I'm going to end on this article because the rest is kind of just shouting out GameSpot stuff. But that's so awesome that they hit 1 million copies sold.
That's nuts. That's a really short amount of time, especially for an independent developer. Like, when did Untitled Goose Game come out? Like only a couple of months ago, right?
In September.
September, yeah. So like, this, man, only like 4 months to hit 1 million. That's nuts.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I mean, we've talked about. I'm wondering, what was it that we talked about recently, a Shovel Knight milestone, but I believe that one was quite a bit more than 1 million.
I would have to guess that it would be, but yeah, I don't remember off the top of my head. Bad memory.
I'm going to look up Shovel Knight copies sold. 2 million is what this one says on Wikipedia. By December 2014, it had sold more than 300,000 copies across all platforms. Blah, 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 blah. Yeah, the game sold 1.5 million copies by December 2016. Oh, shit. So it took them like 2 years.
That's what I'm saying. That's why it's like so crazy how fast this one went. And I wonder what the breakdown is of like, did that hit 1 million because when it hit PS4 and Xbox One, like a bunch of people joined up with it? Or just because, the fact that it was on Switch got to like 700,000 and then now it like brought it up to the next tier.
Yeah, I'm also interested to see if it has kind of like the long lasting value to it, because like included in that was like Shovel Knight by 2018 had sold, I believe, like 2 million, and then even more than that later. So I'm wondering if it's going to have if it's going to continue to sell.
I don't think so. I think it'll still continue to sell, just not in the same way that Shovel Knight did, because you have to think about it. With Shovel Knight, it made sense because they constantly had another thing where they were like, updates. Here's another free, extra thing. And then it's like, oh, there's a lot of content. Maybe I'll get it. And then if they didn't get it then they see another thing comes out. And it's like, oh, there's even more content. Maybe I should get it now. Like, they constantly have that trickle effect of here's something else that gets another wave of people interested. Whereas Untitled Goose Game, I loved the widespread movement that it caused of like all the goose memes and all the craziness. But if you think about where they were when it first launched and where they are today, like, it's definitely died down a bit. And that's just because that's how things work. There's no way they could keep that up forever if they're not pushing out something new. So will it continue to sell as well as it did? I don't think so. I could be wrong, but I would be, shocked if it sold 2 million within the next 4 months. Like, it's not going to sell another million unless I would assume they'd have to put out some kind of DLC or some kind of, reason for people to jump back into it that would then get other people to want to purchase it, because it's now something more that individuals are talking about, something that people are streaming, something that, it's got to cause some kind of wave of commotion.
Yeah, I was going to ask, since it's had such this big uproar and this awesome following and seemingly massive success, do you think that will drive the team to actually work on additional DLC for Untitled Goose Game? Like, Shovel Knight was a different story. They had to because they promised it on Kickstarter, which I guess they didn't necessarily have to. People have kind of not done that stuff before, but do you think that House will actually kind of build upon Untitled Goose Game, or do you think that they'll move on to maybe a sequel or just move off of that game in general?
That's interesting, because from this studio, which is weird because this was kind of more of like a joke. So I wonder what they really wanted to work on, or what that team really wants to do. Like, granted, yes, they, did this in a very well way, but there have been articles that show that this was more of kind of like they just came up with it and then it just kind of rolled into this thing and kind of built its own life on its own. But I'd be interested to see where they really want to take this. There's the one side of them that could say, we want to be lucrative and we want to make money, so we'll do an Untitled Goose Game 2. But then if they have made a good enough amount, they could also say, hey, we have some breathing room as an independent studio with the people that we have. Let's work on something that, maybe we can fall back on and slightly fail a little bit, so that we can do what we really have set out to do, or what we really are inspired by. I don't know, because I don't know enough about the team or what they've worked on previously, what they've as individuals have worked on, so it's kind of a toss-up. It depends. I mean, I would say that the smarter choice from a business perspective is to go into the sequel of Untitled Goose Game, so they make a ton more money. But I also think that if this team is able to create something like that, why can't they build something else that, maybe is completely different?
Do you think if they actually put out a sequel, it would create the uproar that the first did? Or do you think it would be kind of somewhat played out by then? I mean, I shouldn't say by then, because we don't know if it's even happening, let alone how long it'll take. But what do you think?
Right. I think depending on how much time they take in between that is whether or not that will happen. I think if they released an Untitled Goose Game 2 within 2020, I think it would be a little too soon, just because they would have to do something kind of drastic to really change the mold, or to bring in something new and exciting to say why should this be Untitled Goose Game 2 versus just some DLC content of here's more people to screw around with. But I think if they also waited long enough and created Untitled Goose Game 2 a couple of years down the road, I think there would be that breath of fresh air where people say oh, it's been a while since we've seen the Goose do some crazy stuff. Let's see what we can get into, some kind of wacky antics that are now available for us. So I think it really is just time on their side for this part, which is why I'd like them to most likely do something new. Or to not create, I guess, Untitled Goose Game 2, but to just create more just DLC for it.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see what House does. I think they're in kind of like a unique position where they could continue to do this, or that they could take this kind of like large nest egg and actually kind of work on something that wasn't necessarily based on a joke, that they actually kind of like felt creatively like that they felt creative. I don't know, that they really want to work on.
Creatively inspired
basically.
to do.
Yeah.
Like they want that inspiration of why did you become, an independent developer studio? What do you really want to build as your piece of fame, so to speak? Like, I get that their character right now for House is the goose. But is that what they really want to be known for forever? Probably not. They probably want to do something a little bit different. Whether it's still as wacky and interesting, they could still be a part of that, but we'll see where they go from here.
That we will. So, Big Josh Boy, there is no news cram segment today because we barely had enough news to talk about any of it today. So
it's true. I'm feeling quite starved for news.
So instead, what we're going to do is just hop right into God Bless the Crowd. Today in God Bless the Crowd, we have one game to talk about. It is called It Is Nice When It Snows, A Winter Tale. This is a 2D platform adventure with challenging puzzles in a magical tale setting, with a social message where you control a snowball. This team is trying to get, their goal is $28,002. They currently have $2,005 with 37 backers and 31 days left to go. To get in on the ground floor, I mean, you technically could do the $2, which would get you a wallpaper and their infinite gratitude. But to actually get the game, you got to give $17. So what do you think about this snowball game, Big Josh Boy?
This was one of those where I was kind of searching and I wasn't finding anything right away that like really caught my eye. I think that the basis of this game, the core mechanic behind it, could be something great. Right now it does look a little bit wonky, to be honest, just because you really don't see much from here other than you being a snowball, and it's kind of like, well, how much could you really do with that? But at the same time,
supposedly you can grow bigger and smaller.
Yeah, that's true. But at the same time, I think it is interesting. I'd like to see more of it. This is one of those ones where I'd be interested to see where it goes, but I personally probably wouldn't back it right away, which I know is not the best thing to do when you're promoting something, but that's just how it is. But I still think it's kind of cool. I like the fact that you're just a snowball, which seems ridiculous. And I do like the fact that there are some parts to it where I could see this getting interesting, where you have that split off effect where you can have multiple snowballs in different areas, having it grow and get smaller depending on what kind of puzzle they can think of would be really interested. I just, from their Kickstarter, haven't seen too much other than them saying, hey, there's going to be 5 different worlds. There's going to be a bunch of, unique puzzles. I'm not as crazy about the fact that they say with a social impact message, because it seems weird to just kind of push that agenda without trying to show what that message is, I guess.
Yeah, they even say it in the trailer, but don't really actually say anything about it. It's just kind of like, yeah, we have a message. And it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
cool.
It's a little strange to push that. I wish they would have pushed more of just like what the message is to try and get people who are like behind that to want to see more of this, because I think that would have had more of an impact than just saying, hey, we have a story and like a deeper meaning to it. But that being said, maybe some people are interested because they see it as the snowball and they're like, well, I guess there's more to it. Maybe it'll be interesting. I don't personally know. I think it could be fun, but, puzzle games, unless they have, like, a really unique mechanic, I oftentimes will end up playing for, like, an hour or two and then just kind of getting, like, fatigued and putting down. So it's probably not going to be for me.
Yeah, I don't really... I mean, I don't know. There's something I do enjoy puzzle platformers quite a bit. It just depends. I have to like the world and the characters, and it kind of like it doesn't help that there's not necessarily like kind of a mascot or a main character to this other than this just kind of like snowball.
Generic snowball.
Yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like it would be different if it was the fully fledged snowman, kind of, I guess.
mean,
But since
that would
it's
be weird,
just
though.
like this fucking cotton ball going across
I mean, maybe
the
it could
screen.
just have like a face that's constantly rolling around.
Yeah, just kind of anything that would make it like anthropomorphized, like fucking arms and a legs or something. Just anything to make it look like a real character would probably help me out quite a bit. There's just because I do like the really interesting kind of like Don't Starve-esque art style that the foreign
Yeah.
background have, but the snowball itself is just so boring, and I really mean it. It looks like a cotton ball.
Yeah. It also, it's kind of a shame because the art style is so interesting in the background, and then you have just a very, and I guess they did that to distinguish it from the background, but like the snowball character doesn't blend in with anything else in the world, really.
Yeah, it definitely has like a different color palette to the rest of the snow, which is kind of interesting too. I think it'll be cool to see how this unfolds and what kind of like gameplay elements they could do. Like you said, there is you can divide your snowball into multiple. You actually can gain and decrease snow so that you can accomplish certain puzzles. It seems really interesting, but I wouldn't back it either, honestly. It doesn't seem like my kind of game, but if you guys like snowballs and you like puzzle platformers, which is an odd mix.
If you like snowballs.
Yeah, hop over to Kickstarter and back this game. Yeah, I don't have much else to say about this other than that. I mean, I normally would like talk shit about a trailer or like mock something, just kind of be a general a-hole, but I don't have any real issues with this game other than it just kind of looks milquetoast. Like it doesn't stand out in a real way.
Right. I mean, snow is a pretty bland thing, so.
Yeah, it's just frozen water. I've always remembered when I was a kid, like, thinking snow tasted good, and then you think about it, and you're like, it doesn't, it's just fucking water.
Yeah, it's also fucking nasty because it's on the ground.
I mean, you just don't get the shit that's on the ground. You, like, get the top stuff, you know?
What? The top stuff? Like, you mean the stuff that's falling? What do you mean? Well, why? Who
Or,
describes
there's, like,
falling
a pile.
snow as top stuff?
No, there's, like, a pile, and then there's the stuff that touched the ground, and then there's, like, the stuff on top that you take.
So you dig. Well, I mean, yeah, but people step on that then.
Well, I'm not talking about the shit people are stepping on. Damn.
Well, where the fuck are you finding
You find
the
this
snow?
pristine bit of snow that nobody has fucked with and that the world has yet to taint, and that's the stuff you eat.
Yeah, but how do you know it hasn't been tainted?
I mean, really, I think I was just building up my immune system, but doing it quite terribly. So
I mean, as you can see, you're sick and I'm not. I've never eaten snow off the ground, so
it's
check
also
that off for
winter
Josh
here,
Wynn.
and you live in Florida.
Yep, never had to eat snow.
Does it? I've always wondered this. Does it snow there?
Not where I live. So I think the higher tips of Florida, it can very rarely. But like down in Fort Lauderdale, where I am, down at like the tip of the dong, there's like never a time when it would snow. The coldest it gets down here is really in like the 40s, I think. It's never cold enough for it to snow.
Yeah, so you don't even know, bitch. You freaking.
I mean, I know what
ain't
it's
playing
like.
around in the snow like this kid.
I've been to places with snow. I've traveled to snow. I've seen it. I've gotten it falling into my eyes. It's awful.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I fucking hate snow.
It's so bad. I hate it.
It blows.
The first time I saw it, I went and I was like, "Oh, this is cool." And then it kept getting in my face, and I was like, "Oh, what? Get out of here!" I was like, "This is so bad." And then I didn't. It like wasn't enough to even cover the ground, so I didn't get that nice like snow look. It was just like going into my eyes.
However much I dislike snow, I actually really like to shovel driveways for some reason.
You are crazy.
It's just like really kind of peaceful. You just sit there and like listen to a podcast or some dumb shit, just fucking shoveling a driveway.
All right. Well, I guess if you guys want your driveway shoveled,
Yeah.
Vaughn's on the case.
Hit this kid up. You can pay me to do it because I'm not going to do that shit for free. I'm a simple-minded creature. Speaking of, let's hop into our random questions of today. We have 2 random questions, both written in by Chase. The first one he wrote in last week, but I forgot about it. So sorry for that. He told me I was racist because of it. And
Wow, that's weird.
Yeah.
Aren't you both white?
Yeah.
So what race are you racist against?
I mean, he's like a quarter Mexican, I think, so.
A quarter racist.
Yeah.
The worst kind.
I'm not entirely racist. So,
Yeah,
just
that's okay.
a little bit is fine, I guess.
I mean, I suppose. Well, I don't. Yeah, let's just go to the question.
Chase wrote in his first question, and these tie together, and apparently he is going to build a larger narrative with this, which is kind of interesting. He writes in and says, imagine the world goes to shit and a few of your close friends / family are alive along with 10% of the USA. What does your first week look like? What are your goals? And are you nice to other survivors, or is it us versus them? Now, I should kind of preface this with saying that he has said that this was just kind of like a random event. For the most part, you don't have to worry about getting sick because of it. And as far as I know, this isn't like a fucking zombie apocalypse scenario. This is just...
I mean, we don't know. The story is unfolding
Yeah.
right before our eyes.
Yeah, it could be in another freaking question. He's going to say,
Yeah.
JK, they're zombies, eat a dick. But...
Wow, that's not a question.
he just writes
Chase.
in with a statement.
Just that statement.
So what would your goals be in your first week? What would you first do? And if you came upon survivors, which seems pretty unlikely considering only 10% of the US survived,
Yeah.
what would you do?
Well, I mean, that's interesting because if 10% of the US is left, 90% just gone, then it would be interesting to see what part
I should
of that
also say that it is like a sickness and stuff, so buildings are still intact and everything. I very specifically asked him that question. Okay. So everything is as it normally would be, just a lot less people.
Okay, because that's kind of where I was getting to, is because, like, what's functional right now? I guess that would be the first week, like, would basically just to be assess the situation. Like, you know, are there radio stations that are out there where people are, like, talking about this and kind of giving any type of, like, oh, we're trying to help the remaining survivors, or this is what's happening. Try to find some constant source of food, because if 90% are gone, that means, like, we don't really have supermarkets anymore. And then I guess to find some type of defense, because with that whole apocalypse sort of mentality, there's going to be people out of that 10%, I'm sure, that will kind of be every man for himself. As for the are you nice to other survivors, I think it would depend on the first couple of, like, goals and finding out really how the world has taken to this part, just because if there's anything I've learned from, you know, post-apocalyptic books and games, which there's not much to learn because obviously those are fake, but it's that people are assholes, and it's hard to know who you can really trust. So I don't know if I would trust anyone other than people I know, unfortunately.
Yeah, luckily, and I love that he pointed out that some of your close friends and family are alive along with you. So you just got super lucky, and fucking 90% were wiped out, but you still got your bro, you know? You're still, like, fist bumping in the apocalypse. But,
I mean, I think, man, we'd also have to cancel the podcast. I don't think we could do it anymore.
Yeah, considering that not a lot of people want to listen to us talk about indie
maybe the
games
10% are the fans that we have. It's
That'd be
only
great.
people who listen to our podcast are still alive.
We'd be the most popular podcast on earth, maybe. I don't know.
I mean, I still don't think we would be.
There's somebody somewhere like podcasting about cheese that is for some reason more entertaining than us talking about indie games.
I mean, there's a lot of cheese, like a lot of cheese.
Yeah,
You could probably do a podcast on that. I'm sure there is.
There's definitely a podcast about cheese. But for me, what would my first week look like? What are my goals? Since shelter does not seem to be an issue, since none of the buildings are like fucked up or anything like that, I would pretty much just try to gather up with all my friends, close family, whoever is still alive. When it comes to like, I would initially try to kind of like stockpile food. We'd probably head to like some grocery stores, get as much food as possible. I think we'd all kind of like congregate in a single place, kind of like move into maybe a single neighborhood, because I don't think that we'd want to branch out too much. Like my parents,
like a nice condo, settle down,
My parents live like
the dream.
30 minutes, 40 minutes away from me, and I don't know how long communication would last with them, considering most of the U.S. is like annihilated, so there's not many people who could like hold up these systems. So I think we'd all pretty much move closer to each other. Of course, technically we'd be looting, but I think in the apocalypse, looting is kind of acceptable.
Yeah, eventually looting's not okay, but like in the immediate couple of like that year for sure, you really don't even know. Like it would be so annoying because you'd be like, oh man, I've grown to this lifestyle of going to the supermarket and there's food there, and then you're like, oh, now I need to find an actual person who farms or can get food. Like it would be awful.
Yeah, it would be it would be interesting. That's where the whole like, are you nice to other survivors and like kind of is it us versus them? For me, I would be nice. I'd be welcoming, because really, like, I'm assuming we know that a lot of people are wiped out because you would see it. Like if only 10% of the U.S. is alive, I think you'd notice that.
I mean, yeah, because I kind of feel the same way. That's why I was like a little bit hesitant on my answer with that one, because I would be nice, but to a degree. Like, I don't feel like I'd ever trust a lot of people, and it would take quite a bit of time. I think it would be good to create some kind of vetting process, but obviously that comes into a weird, like, kind of almost building a government of ourselves, which I also wouldn't want to do. I don't know. It's weird. I don't know how I would vet someone or find out that they're, like, okay for the area.
Yeah, like they'd be okay to kind of be in your society, I guess.
Yeah, exactly. Because, like, and granted, right away, it probably wouldn't be that bad, but, like, as more people start to, like, pick up on, like, oh, I could probably get away with shit because it's kind of like a free-for-all now. Like, and granted, maybe it even wouldn't, because, like, there's a lot of people in the U.S., so depending on how heavily impacted, like, because if it's heavily impacted and dispersed across the U.S., then it would probably be bad. But, like, is the 90% all in other states and, like, the 10% is my state and we're all, like, just still the same amount of people? Like,
no, I'd assume that it's across the U.S., like 10% up from the U.S., like, as a whole. So
yeah,
given that, it's pretty weird that your close friends and family just happen
that's
to
what
survive,
I'm saying, is like, it's very, very specific.
Still, that is a nice caveat that he added. Yeah, I would be nice. I would be welcoming to other survivors, because at that point, it's like you kind of have to help other people, or you might be. You're not really condemning them to death, because
They're gonna murder you in your sleep.
Yeah, maybe. You never know. But I wouldn't exactly be super welcoming to them. I'm not going to, like, invite them into my house or anything, but it's not a shoot on sight kind of a thing. Let's move into his next question, or kind of like statement and
part
then questions. Part 2. Early in the first week, you checked on your neighbors, still not totally understanding what happened. You find them in their bed sleeping. After trying to wake them, you check for vitals, peeling their eyelid open. It's completely bloodshot. Their skin is completely pale and cold. This leads into the next month. Roads are pretty clear and homes still intact. Businesses are mildly looted, but there isn't much. There aren't many signs of life. This Yeah, the event is still a mystery to you, but life moves on. What are your goals and actions in the first month after the first week? So you already did everything in your first week. You kind of like, for me, it's kind of like getting all of the people I know that are still alive close by and gathering all of these like foods, resources, and stuff like that. What does the first month afterwards look like for you?
Oof. Well, I guess at this point we know there's like, it's getting worse, I guess, if our neighbors are also dying, or maybe they're part of that 90%. I don't really know.
Oh yeah, they're already dead. He's saying that like within the first week you go and check on your neighbor, and it turns out they're dead. So you're kind of seeing that like this is how they died. Like it was a sickness that just took them. Like these people didn't even like seemingly fight or anything. They just looked like they were asleep. They died in their sleep basically.
Yeah, that's interesting. I really don't know. I guess I would have to, because for me it would be more of a lot of the same from the first week to the first month, because it's a lot of just stocking up on resources. It's preparing like different roles for people of like, okay, certain systems, like you said, are going to eventually run out. So it seems, if it's only 10%. So you would have to try to find people who have certain unique skills that could, help you prosper as a small society. I think it would be mainly just food and shelter that we would have to worry about, as far as like, because I guess there's no one, or we'd have to find out if like people are like, who's manning like the like electric or water, or like how does any of that work after 90% of the US is gone. So that would be the type of things that you would have to like set out to try and figure out. Do we have someone who's actively going to keep this up? Do we have a way that this is going to still run? Things like that would be my main focus. So just general survival.
Yeah, what sounds bad is that luckily so much of the US is wiped out that like you actually, whatever supplies, like if I went to fucking Walmart, there's so little people around that like the majority of that could be used for just us. Mm-hmm. So especially if you ration, like your food and your water and everything could last quite a long time. Your provisions would last quite a while. You get that. But yeah, the first month would be pretty much like, I would say, still looking for people. Still gathering supplies and kind of like setting up a ration, because like you said, we don't know exactly what's going to happen. You don't know about like this water, the electricity and stuff like that. Sure, it's going to work for a little while right now, but you don't necessarily know how long it's going to last. I'd go to each one of like these houses, kind of like get ready for the worst. Definitely visit some like, other than just gathering supplies that are like food and water, also gathering stuff like just miscellaneous weird shit that you can find at like a Sportsman's Warehouse, like water desalinators and kind of just like normal outdoorsy stuff that would help you survive without the provisions that you already have. Kind of just setting, like, after the first week, which is your immediate survival and kind of like getting your bearings, I think the month afterwards is about your continued survival. That's when you need to start working like long term or thinking long term, and also getting these fucking bodies like out of these houses and shit. I guess like burying people, I would also try to do, at least the people I knew, for the most part.
I mean, otherwise it's gonna start stinking, especially if you're in an apartment and all your fucking neighbors are dead. That's gross. Yeah,
and it's not healthy. I would also wonder, like, he hasn't said anything yet. I wonder if, like, the animal population was affected at all. Or if
mine
it's just humanity.
Are other countries getting hit by this?
Yeah, I don't know. He did just specify the USA. So if other countries weren't affected by this, I can guarantee you that the people of the USA would totally get fucked. Like, some other country would invade us immediately.
Well, just find a person who knows how to fly a plane and get the fuck out.
Yeah, go to like Guatemala or some place that didn't happen to like fucking get genocided, I guess. It didn't just get straight up murked. So yeah,
once again, another weird one from Chase.
Yeah. He's really thinking about this, so I'm excited to see what he writes in with next week, and hopefully I remember to read it. That's it for this episode of the podcast. This one actually wasn't as short as I thought it was going to be, only an hour.
Yeah. I mean, we
We've
spent a
gone
lot of
like
time
2
just
hours
BSing.
recently, though.
Yeah,
Like,
that's true, too.
We've gone pretty long normally, so.
Well, that's because we keep playing too many games. Keep talking about it. It's mostly I do ramble about games, so I will attribute some of that to my fault.
Hey, I imagine that gets people to play them, so that's awesome. Play more indies, guys, especially in 2020. If you're going to make a New Year's resolution, or you did, I hope it was about playing more indie games. Because
Was that yours?
No, did you have any like New Year's resolutions?
No, so that was one of the things. So the past couple of years, I've always had like something, and this year I thought about it, and I was like, nah, I'm pretty good. I don't know. I just I couldn't think of anything. I mean, there's the obvious like, oh, I'm going to work out more, but I would do that anyway because I generally try to stay as fit as I can. The other year I had one about taking more pictures, which I'm just bad at and don't do. So whatever, I've kind of given up. And then like others are more about general self-improvement, but I don't know. I just don't really attribute those as much to like a New Year's resolution. I don't know why.
For me, I didn't actually make any like New Year's resolutions for the most part, other than the stuff that I already tried to do. Like I'm trying to play more indie games, like I said.
Mm-hmm. Cough, cough, cough.
I'm gonna try to continue living, after this cold.
I mean, you're not doing so great, so we'll see.
Also, I want to. Within this year, so for a while I've wanted to start writing like more, because I wrote for Handsome Phantom for a long time, and then I for like a year for the most part, and I decided that I wanted to kind of like reel that back in, and for the most part not write for them for a little while so I could get some stuff off the ground, and I want to try to do that. I really want to try to write my own comic book. I've been on the fence about it for a long time, but I think I'm finally going to buckle down and try to get one of my ideas off the ground.
Nice.
Especially because like it seems like Kickstarter is a great place to actually do that kind of stuff, so I think I might end up like kickstarting a comic book. There's some other stuff that I want to do. Of course, the continued success of Indie Incursion would be great. We're going to try to build this up to be a larger brand, hopefully. So
one day. Maybe we'll change that Incursion part and it'll grow.
Yeah, maybe. Maybe we'll make it easier to find.
Yeah, we'll get there. One day.
If you guys would like to chat with us outside the shows, you guys can follow us on Twitter. You can follow me at Hyde Legion. You can follow the podcast at IndiePod. And you can follow Josh at _Jorsh90. You guys can also send us emails at our email address, which is indieincursionpodcast@gmail.com. For the most part, just keep it for the random questions. But I guess if you're a developer and want to reach out about us, maybe talking about your game on the show or something like that, you can email us there too. Just please pop in the subject line and say specifically what you want, for the most part, like random question or I've got a game, I don't know, something like that.
I've got a game, I don't know. They're not sure.
At this point, we're just too early in development to tell, I guess. It might be a movie. Yeah. Thank you guys for listening to this episode. Thank you guys for supporting our effort toward spreading the word of indie games. That's all I have to say today, and I hope you guys have a great week.
Honk!
Damn.